Hello, hello, welcome. Hey, there we go. Oh, so good. Look at these things. Look at this sunshiny day. Oh, I just can't believe how nice this is. I had a little sunshine on my toes this morning, just as I was getting stuff ready. And that was just a delightful little treat. Got some sunshine on my mat, so let's go get in on it. I guess it's not quite on my mat, it's right on the very edge here. Ah, this is me spilling coffee all over the place. Set this off to the side. I clearly need to drink somewhere, but still a full cup today. So, welcome to some real person yoga, where I do yoga, drink coffee, spill it everywhere. But mostly, we try to do some yoga together. That's just how it works, and it's wonderful and delightful. And I have super fun time with it. Today is going to be an ultra quick one. Still trying to provide you a free little something or other. But tonight I am doing a yoga party. Trying to do one of these online yoga classes just through, still through Zoom or something like that, but I want something where I can interact with you opposed to you guys just getting to see me all the time. I want the opportunity to see you, and we can chat and we can have some fun. I've got a couple of little activities planned for within it. I would really love to try yoga bingo, but I think I'll need to wait for people to be able to be around each other. But we can get outdoors up to 200 right now. I feel like we could make that work, Callie. What do you say? This is my dog Callie, who often just hangs out off screen. Hi, do you want to come say hi? You're welcome to. She's a sweet little dog. Aww. Are you gonna be in the video today? You're so nice. Okay. Yeah, you can have a little limelight. I don't need to steal it all. We can give you some. Perfect. Anyways, yes, because dogs are wonderful. Here is my doggy. Doreen, hello, welcome this morning. You made it. So proud of you. Yay! Just today is a quick one. We got yoga party tonight, so don't want to burn anyone out, but still want to be able to offer one of these 8 a.m. lives. Are you coming tonight? This is my question. I've got a little Facebook event going on there. Lisa, hi! I just love it when you come. Yes. Are you coming to the yoga party tonight too? We can hang out on Zoom or something like that together. My half dilemma with Zoom is I haven't paid for the subscription for it. And part of me just doesn't want to. I don't know if that's the inner rebel in me. And so I'm asking a friend if I could use her Zoom account because I'm just that lame. My legs are... Hang on. I gotta go closer. What is with these old eyes? My hips need to be happy today. Oh my gosh, yes. Yes. Okay, perfect. I'm glad. So let's make these hips happy and get in there on this stuff. Hey, not on camera. That's not how we roll. You can go over there. Love you. Perfect. Well, okay. Enough chatting, Janelle. Let's find that happy place. Find that position you can get centered in. Find that position where you can start to notice the body. You can start to notice the breath. Noticing how you're feeling. Do you feel like you got a good night's sleep? Are you feeling energized? Do you feel like the week is starting to weigh on you? Are you starting to get a little fatigued? Maybe you didn't get a very good sleep. Maybe just the day is wearing on you. You're watching this a little bit later. Start to just check in with how you're feeling. And can you notice those areas, tightness and tension? And once you notice them, what do you do with it? I think the first response is that acknowledgement. So even seeing some tension in your body and giving it that nod of yes, I see you. Kind of makes our muscles feel heard, so they don't need to scream quite as loud for your attention. It's such a bizarre little concept. There's starting to be a little bit of science to back that up, but that's such a hard thing to measure. So anyways, that's one thing I heard another yoga teacher talking about, and I think that's really cool. So just acknowledging it and saying that I see you to it gives your body a little bit of power, and can start to work on releasing some of that tension and working with some of those problem areas. So as you're going through, okay, yeah, I see you, yeah, I gotcha, and then moving on from it. You don't have to sit there and dwell on it. You can always come back to it. So starting to feel all of the feels and starting to maybe send a little love, some compassion, maybe using that exhale breath, that maybe sigh of release that can do wonders on letting some of that tension go. So getting in there. Let's connect in, taking a few nice big inhales and exhales, starting to work on that breathing. Breathing in nice and big. Exhaling, starting to release. Filling not only the lungs, but starting to breathe into that diaphragm, into that abdomen area. Just huge inhale, everything lifts, and take that exhale, letting it go. Connecting in, maybe taking one or two more. Really nice big inhale, and full exhale. Feeling that softness that comes with the exhale. Starting to think of an intention for our class, for our time together. What will keep you going? What's a little purpose for our time? Starting to let it resonate within you. And then slowly starting to wake up the body. Maybe you just take another big inhale breath, really noticing how the body moves as you take that big inhale. Take a huge exhale, maybe sigh it out again. Rolling those shoulders back and down. Starting to feel that little bit of space, a little wiggle into fingers and toes. Maybe start to roll wrists and ankles. Maybe just take a huge sip of coffee. Beautiful. If you have been in a reclined position, let's roll on up to a seated position. Well, we'll spend just a little bit of time today. We won't go too nuts with our class, but we will have some fun together. So, getting yourself up in this any seated position. I like to start cross-legged as per usual. But if you have another favorite seated position that works to do some movement in, go ahead and choose this. Neil always makes fun of me when I say that. He jumps in the lazy boy and says, "Can I do yoga here?" I said, "Go ahead and try." So, finding yourself there. I play around with the different seated positions, so I'll just share today what seems to naturally be happening. So lots of times I'll try to stack ankle over ankle, have a little bit more openness. And sometimes it's a little bit more over thighs. Sometimes I do ankle in front of ankle, working there. But today I've got almost like ankle almost knee over knee, kind of like you'd see in like that fire log pose or that double pigeon pose. It's not quite to that extreme. I still have legs coming in a bit. So even I play around with different seated positions, so you're welcome to borrow or use any of those. So let's hold on to either the legs or the knees. Take that nice big inhale breath. Start to lift through the heart. Really start to reach that heart center, reaching it up. You might notice the head tips back ever so slightly, but try to keep control of the neck. So you're not just dumping the head backwards. It's all about lifting through the heart. Maybe start to feel that little resistance through the hands and the shoulders. Keep reaching. Feel almost like that nice back bend that's trying to escape. Reaching up and take that exhale. Start to tuck that chin inward. Just take a little round into the spine. Maybe press down the palms in towards the legs, opposed to having that pulling motion happening. Just feeling that. Just a gentle little stretch through the shoulders. Let's come on back up towards seated. Take that inhale and start to sweep those arms up nice and big. Reaching nice and tall. Exhale, hands to heart. Great way just to warm up the hands or the shoulders, the spine, and working with breath, connected to the movement. So really take those inhales to sweep those arms up. Take those exhales to draw the hands in. Maybe your breathing rate is a little bit slower, and so you move your arms a little bit slower to have that full inhale and draw the hands nice and slowly for that exhale. It's so beautiful once we could create that connection of breath and movement. And it creates new neural pathways in the brain. I used to say you can't teach an old dog new tricks. So I used to think brain cells never regenerated. So once you lost them, they were never coming back. So you have to be careful with how much of what you consumed, if you know what I'm talking about. But now they're finding when you have this beautiful connection, you can create new brain cells. So how fun is that? All right, one more. Exhale, hands to heart center, sitting nice and tall. Just drawing those shoulders back and down. They're nice and relaxed, but the head is still expanding upwards. Feel that spine drawing in a nice long line. Maybe start to notice all those natural little curves towards the spine. Take that nice inhale, length, and press into the legs. So start to activate into the legs, into the feet, and take a nice exhale and start to release, just coming into just a gentle twist. But let's have the focus be in on the legs and then just kind of on the hip portion of this twist here. See if you can keep those legs nice and active and drawing down, and then start to notice a little pressing of the hip that can happen. So as you're twisting, maybe you're drawing one hip back, one hip forward to try to get a little bit deeper. Just feel that nice little activation starting to get into some of those muscles through that hip socket. And if you want, you can drop those hands down, lengthening first and then deepening the twist, going a little bit more. I just really love noticing that little connection of how the body naturally moves first. I think it's powerful to become aware of that, because that is a movement that will keep off of the mat outside of our practice. And so maybe you're twisting and reaching for something that fell behind the couch or underneath the car seat, and if you need that extra little bit, maybe you're like, oh, here, hips can rotate too, and then getting into that. Just find life applications for some of this. Let's release this twist. Come on back towards center. Take a nice big inhale. Exhale. Roll those shoulders back and down. Feel that slight engagement of the core as you exhale, how everything can pull in as well. And bring the hands to heart center. Just relax through the shoulders. And take that big inhale, and on the exhale, start to just twist in the other direction. Starting to notice the legs, starting to notice the hips. Maybe you just come into that range where you start to feel that little bit of a pull. Keep activating, pressing those legs down. So good. Maybe you want to add in a little more, pressing the hands down. Always try to find a little bit of length first, and then deepen the twist, and that keeps that spine nice and healthy. Twisting stuff around. Beautiful. Starting to let it feel really good. Excellent. If you get tired of just pushing your hand back behind you, I just put mine on my back. I don't know if you can see my hand peeking over on the other side here. You can start to reach it around, maybe start to reach on for that hip. Sometimes you might have a foot that's hanging out there. You can go for the little foot bind or the little leg bind. I've got a little T-Rex arm, so I think just it peeking out is about as far as she's going. All right, let's exhale. Come on back towards center. If you are in a seated position and you want more on the hips, we're going to come into a little bit of a forward fold. But if you start to kind of make a 90 degrees with the hip and the knee, and aligning mostly just that shin, just directly straight out in front of you. Really handy if you're sitting on a mat or you have a mat as a little guideline. And then you're basically just trying to align shins on top of each other. This is that fire log pose that I was basically in earlier. Just had to wiggle my ankles right over the knees. So ideally you have ankle over knee, and shins nice and straight out in front of you. Lots of people, you will look a little bit more like this. You might have one knee up, both knees up, something off kilter towards the side, depending on where your tension and your tightness is. So if you need just to relax on the leg a little bit to bring it down, you'll find that sweet spot. You can build it up as you need to, coming towards The ankles being fully over the knee, but no expectation that that's fully where it is. Okay, enough chatting. Let's take a nice big inhale breath. Let's lengthen things upwards, nice flat back, roll those shoulders back and down. Exhale, start to add that hinge at the hips. So feel almost like you're pushing that tailbone backwards. Take that a little bit more, start to come a little bit deeper. Are you feeling that on that hip yet? I'm feeling that pretty much immediately, usually on whatever leg is on top. You'll feel that a little more through the hip there. Start to find that sweet spot. This is all about getting nice into that hips. Beautiful little stretch. Yep, this is as low as I'm going, and I am A-okay with that. If you want to go more, I'm trying to keep a nice flat back here because I like that sensation, but if you want to drop the head down or walk your hands out further, maybe even get forehead close to the ground or right on the ground, maybe stack some fists to fill in that gap or that distance. My hips are not happy this morning, at least not yet, so we are working on that with this nice little pose. As you might feel that little squeeze of tension through the hips, imagine that squeeze just like a fist, and then you start to open it up. You might actually feel a little release of tension, especially if you mix that in with a nice big exhale. So let's take a big inhale breath, breathing in. Take that exhale, imagine that release. Maybe just find a little more. Maybe you can walk your hands, just a millimeter further, getting a touch deeper into this. I like to still have my back nice and flat here, and core still pulling up ever so slightly so my low back is engaged as well. But that's just my personal preference for today. If you want to just totally relax, have slightly more of that restorative version of things, and go right ahead as well. And yes, we are holding this one for a few rounds of breath, mostly because we've got some real big muscles. This can start to get into the IT band, going all the way down to the knee. And we've got all those hip flexors that I usually like to do, like walking on the ceiling with to get into them. But today, this is where we're starting. So let's hang out here for one more breath. And at the end of that exhale, let's start to press on in. And come on, back up. Oh, yes. All right, let's switch the feet. And just coming into just a cross-legged position on the other side. So maybe you want more ankle over ankle. Maybe you want ankle in front of ankle. Maybe you want to extend your legs long. I'm just going to come into a couple of side bends. I'm still going to go for almost that little position here. Let's inhale, sweep those arms up, reach it up nice and tall. See if you find a little more length. Maybe come into steeple, holding onto each hand, reaching up a little bit more. Exhale, bring those hands down to heart center, drawing everything in. Just simply hanging out here. Let's tip over towards the left, just starting to tip down. Maybe plant a knee on the leg. Maybe your hand comes down. Option one, just simply hanging out here. I want to kind of go for more of the elbow planted today, or even reaching across for opposite knee or opposite hip. And then if you want a little more, you can reach it up. Find that nice stretch through that side body. You can add that nice little pulse in. I like this side bend because it naturally keeps that top shoulder nice and open. And especially as you're reaching for that opposite leg, you can invite a little bit of a twist in as well. Maybe gaze goes up, shoulders start to rotate up, but still trying to get that nice side bend through the side body, activating into some of those lateral fascial lines of the body, maybe even some of the spiral fascial lines, and then recapping my fascia course, which I really love. If you want some good yoga tips, Denise Yoga Co. on Facebook, I highly recommend following her. All right, let's come on back up, release, and back towards neutral, hands to heart. Take a nice inhale, exhale, start to tip over towards the other side. Maybe you plant an elbow, or maybe you just relax your hand down. Maybe you sweep that arm up, or if you plant that elbow, maybe you reach across. Then arm comes up, finding that nice openness through that top shoulder. I'm just going to circle back. Denise is so brilliant. She has so much anatomy knowledge, and she's been working with fascial lines and studying them for quite some time now. She's just developed an amazing program on that, but she also does like a pose of the week where she talks about how to activate fascial lines in yoga. She makes it very specific for yoga, and whether you teach or just practice, if you're interested in fascia, I so suggest it. All right, let's come on back up. Inhale, reach it up. Just take one more nice stretch. Exhale, hands to heart. Let's start to wiggle those feet into more of that fire log pose. So maybe you just start by bringing your bottom foot a little bit farther away from the body, so this bottom shin is nice and straight in front of you. Maybe you even get that 90 degrees at the hip, so like just femur comes straight out from the hip, knee bends at 90 degrees, so you have that shin nicely in place. And then you can just pick up this other leg and place her right on top. Maybe it lands here, maybe you're a little more off towards the side. Trying to maybe work at getting ankle over knee. See, this is where a Zoom call would have been fantastic, because then I could see exactly where you're at and maybe help you get into it a little bit better, because I know this can be a challenging one, but just think of it as cross-legged, where you're bringing ankles and knees together. You don't got to overcomplicate it. So I'm finding that length through the spine, pressing into those sits bones, lift that crown of the head, and take that nice little exhale and starting to come forward. Ooh, feeling that pull on the hip right away. And finding your preferred depth. Maybe you even just have hands on knees, like your forward fold, that hinge at the hips is just an inch or two. Starting to feel into that. So good, so intensive. I had other words in mind for that, but we will refine them. Yes, embracing that edge. So it's still about finding that zone that's challenging, it's uncomfortable, but it also, for this, at least for me, feels a little bit good. I can feel that embrace of my body trying to respond to the movement I'm giving it. This would be actually a really good one to add a little bit of that pulse into. Just being really easy and real gentle with it, starting to get into that hip a little bit more by more of that active stretching opposed to that passive just holding it. So you're welcome to add that movement in, but if you're not digging it this morning, that's okay. Ooh, the sway feels pretty nice too. Sometimes I just like to play around. It's so nice. Excellent. I'm going to embrace that stillness just so I can draw that core in, activating into that low back. For some reason, that's helping me get a little more into my glute for this one. Maybe that's just this side is so tight. That's where we're hanging out. It's going right into the glute. Ooh, maybe steal some coffee, reaching for whatever we got going on. Beautiful. Nicely connecting with the body. Let's take a little moment, take a big inhale breath. Exhale, imagine that fist opening up, let go of some of that tension. Finding a little openness, finding a touch of space. Holding just for another breath or two, letting some of these big muscles have time to respond. As we start to release tension through muscles, it happens layer by layer. And so oftentimes we think of this muscle as just this like one thing and it kind of lets go all at once, but it's actually more so like each of the fingers in your hand, and the top layer starts to release and lengthen, and then the next layer, once it trusts the position, it knows that, okay, you don't need to move right away, you don't need to respond, jump up out of your position, it's nice and safe, then you can start to release deeper into those muscles. That's where restorative and yin yoga are just so beneficial for the body. Getting just into every little strand, finding that nice release. So that's why I'm holding this one for a decent amount of time. Let's press on in, taking one more breath, maybe lengthening through the spine. Exhale, At the end of that exhale, start to come on up, nice and slowly. How are those hips feeling after this little fire log pose? Let's start to release the legs out in front. You can plant the hands, give them a little shake, however you'd like to release. Maybe windshield wiper, maybe that'll feel a little bit better. Maybe you have a little tingle sensation as you release that one side of the body. Good old seated windshield wiper, good for the glutes. Kind of like rolling that. Excellent. All right, let's find some stillness. And coming into a little half butterfly. So just drawing one leg and resting it down. Other leg extended. It can be extended right out in front. It can be extended off to the side, depending on how you want to mix it in. I often do mine off to the side. So today I'm just going to mix everything up and have it slightly more in front. But honestly, it doesn't matter. It doesn't change anything. There's no strict rules for exactly what angle you have your legs at here. But let's take that inhale and exhale, start to feel into those sits bones. Where there might be rules is being able to feel into both sides. So lots of times as we draw one leg in, well actually, I'll exaggerate, it will shift weight towards that bent side, so much so that you that extended leg might not even be on the ground. So take a moment, roll that hip down, feel that little sensation, and let's activate into this extended leg. And so start to flex at the foot, and start to draw the heel, pressing it outward, starting to feel into that calf. Nice stretch, maybe you feel into the back line of the knee, maybe even into that hamstring. So really pressing that foot, not just toes to ceiling. I'm looking for that real active pressing of the leg through the heel outwards, and then really drawing in of the toes, so active through that leg, and then give it a little relaxing in at the ankle. And then start to get into the hamstrings a little bit. So take that nice big inhale breath, exhale, relax through the shoulders. Inhale, sweep those arms up. Align those shoulders with whatever angle that extended leg is at. Activate into that leg, just toes up towards the ceiling, maybe even lifting of the kneecap to protect the muscles around the knee. And then start to reach forward, hinging at the hips, and then drop the hands down wherever they land. So maybe they're right in close. Maybe over time here you start to extend them. Ultimately, we're just trying to feel a good hamstring stretch here through this pose. So that's why we're keeping the foot activated, feeling it through the back line of the leg. And then as we hinge forward, that's what starts to pull the glute and the hamstring into some more depth. So I'll let it be your choice for flat back or rounded back in this one. But sometimes the rounded back is really just our ego getting in the way of our practice, feeling for some reason like we need to connect our head to our knee, our leg, that we need to bow down even further, so we'll hunch into it completely. But this, in my opinion, will feel a little bit better if you have a little bit of length through the spine, because like I said, it's all about that hamstring. So as you keep those back muscles in line, as you keep that back fascial line activated, then you start to feel more of that through the muscles that fascia runs through. So just a fun fact, really cool. Excellent. I'm going to add a little pulse in here, working on finding some of that depth through my connective tissue, through the muscle. So maybe really notice that. I like the pulse because it plays around with that edge. Like I couldn't just stay at that max that I come into my pulse and hold it. I feel like that's a little bit too deep, but with that release happening right afterwards, and I can feel that nice pull and then let it go. And just think of it like an elastic band. And you're finding that max and letting it go, and then maybe you can find a little more length because you've added a little bit more stretch into it. If you've ever made that fathead pizza dough with the mozzarella cheese being melted and almond flour and whatever other goodies, an egg, I think. It's kind of like that same idea of that stringiness of the cheese. All right, one more little inhale and exhale. Let's start to release, sitting back up, just wanting to play around a little bit. So with this extended leg, start to bend it, bring it up. Maybe you hug that leg in towards the chest and hanging out here, and then let that knee fall on top of the other leg. So almost like you're stacking knee over knee, legs together like that windshield wiper, and you just let the legs fall, and then start to track that top leg down, coming into those deer legs. So wherever it lands, that's fine. Try to keep rolling that sits bones down. So I like to bring my top leg all the way off of my other leg. You can adjust the feet however you might need to. No big rules for this one. Just keep trying to find that rolling of that sits bones down kind of motion. Are you feeling this already through the hip, maybe a little bit more through the front? Let's activate into this leg. Imagine like you're doing that quad stretch and you're holding onto your ankle, and then let's lengthen coming up, and then imagine pushing that hip outward. So you're still trying to keep that connection down on the ground, but you're just activating into the front of the leg. I find that if I bring my hand onto my ankle, that kind of helps, and it just kind of lifts and pushes. It's a subtle movement, so there's not a lot of change happening, but you just start to feel more of that front line of the leg. I'm going to add a little lean back into this if you want a little more. You can start to add that lean back, keep kind of having that press, push and pull, getting a bit more into the hips. Throwing some new poses at you guys, or just different variations of stuff. I think I've done the deer legs, hopefully with you guys. I don't feel like I've done it for a little while. It often comes up in the Mondays in the yin yang. Here's our lean back version of it, where we really get into the front of the hip. Pressing still that hip forward. Excellent. And then you can just start to relax into it. I'm going to walk my hands back up towards that more neutral seated, where my shoulders are stacked over the hips. Maybe you feel that a little differently through there. If you want to just get into some different muscles still in that hip area, whatever direction the soles of the feet are facing, you can add some twist in that way. That'll start to pull that back a little bit. And you can add in a nice little twist here as well, if that's feeling good for you. Or maybe you're just screaming at me and being like, what is happening? It's okay, I can take it. Or your screen can take it, don't you worry. If you notice that you're really squeezing some of those muscles, try to start to find some of that release, that softness. Beautiful. I'm going to untwist, coming back towards neutral. And then coming out kind of the same way you came in, I lean off towards whatever direction my knees are pointing. Bring leg over leg. Hug that knee in towards the chest. Get both sits bones down. You can give this leg a little shake if you want to pick it up. Feel that little release through there. Okay, I've got one more for us with this first leg that we've been dealing with. And so I'm going to just bring this bottom foot in a little bit more, just so my knee is a little bit more in front. Then with this leg that was first our original extended leg, I'm going to just bring my foot, trying to land it on the other side of the leg. So if this bottom leg bent doesn't work out for you, you can always extend it. That'll make it a little bit more gentle for this pose and variation. This ultimately, you can do this hanging out here, but as soon as you start to cross this leg over, yes, you might need a little moment to adjust some stuff out of the way, but this will help us get more into the IT band of this. So just take that inhale, get nice and tall, wrap the hands around the knee, hug that knee in, press into the sits bones. So now that I've told you about getting into the IT band, let's work on doing so. So keeping that extended leg, toes pointing up, or if you still have the leg bent, I don't know, some people prefer one over the other, and I have no idea why, but it's still the same motion. We're still just going to work towards a twist here. So drawing that leg in, holding on onto that knee with the opposite hand. And then let's reach that out and start to rotate around. Make sure you can plant that hand either beside you or behind you, just planting it in towards the ground. And find some length here, and then actively start to draw that hand or that knee in towards the body as you rotate those shoulders around. And so you kind of have a little bit of push-pull happening through the hips. Keep pressing those sits bones down, keep pulling into the leg, and as you're rotating, that's where you're starting to get this stretch through the hip and through the leg. But should you not be feeling any of that sensation, it's still just a beautiful twist on the spine. There might be just some subtle movement happening there, or lots of tension just hanging out here. Let's take one more inhale. Nice exhale. Just a different twist to throw at you guys. Let's release. Come on back towards center. Let's extend both legs nice and long. Give them a little shake. Do you notice the difference between one side and the other? This is supposed to be a super short one, but I've been savoring them all. Feels good though. No regrets. I love it. All right. Let's get ready to come into the other side. So bending in that opposite foot. Maybe you keep foot straight in front, maybe it comes out towards the side. I'm going to keep mine slightly more straight on this. Let's start to activate into that extended leg, pressing out through the heel. And so strong, flex through the foot. Try to really draw those toes in towards the body and start to press the leg out. So feeling that connection, like you're stomping into the ground, but you don't have the ground there for that feedback, but that leg is so nice and active. Whatever side is bent, keep pressing that hip down, finding that bit of openness. Take a nice inhale, lift through the heart. So good, so strong through that leg. Maybe you're feeling lots, maybe you're feeling a little. This is my more open side, and I definitely don't feel it nearly as much as the other side, but just so active through that leg. All right, let's relax, release, keep the toes still pointing up, just some gentle activation. Let's take that inhale, reach those arms up, exhale, start to just reach forward, feel that little hinge at the hips. Might just be really subtle. You can simply just drop the hands down and pressing in on that leg. Maybe give those sits bones a little wiggle. Starting to feel that little connection in. You can add that little pulse in here and try to keep those shoulders rolling back and down. So still that option, if you want to just round into it, you absolutely can. But finding that little bit of engagement will help feel a little more on the hamstring stretch. And keeping those toes pointing out for that activation. Usually with the one leg bent, you can find a touch more depth. So maybe you just manage to hook on at a toe. Maybe you can really grab onto the foot, and so you can finally get some of that feedback. I just find that opens up so much. So even if you've got a strap or a band that you want to lasso the foot with, that is a great option here, because as you create that little resistance, just like magical things happen. That's all. Nice stretchy class for us, working on releasing that tension. Getting some of those nice stretches in. And connecting in with that breath, let it feel good. Do you hear the fire? The fire trucks in the background. Beautiful. Just hanging out in this nice little forward fold. I'm going to add that pulse back in. Just having good success with that. I'm still imagining that little lift on the kneecap. Lots of times if you feel lots of pull underneath the knee, if it's painful, you can just imagine that that'll engage the muscles around the knee and help protect it. Or adding that gentle bend into the knee could be beneficial for you as well. Beautiful. Nice little inhale. Nice full exhale. Start to walk those hands back up, coming up all the way. Maybe you plant those hands behind you. Give yourself a little bit of release. Starting to let that feel good. Having a little moment where I forgot one side from the other. I didn't write, I added on to my thought plan. So bring in that one knee in, just like you would hug it in. I feel like there was something before our deer legs, but maybe I am mistaken. We'll just move towards it. So rolling on to that one side, stacking knee over knee, and ankle over ankle. If you are noticing tons of tension as you're hanging out on that hip, you can even just roll the hip a little bit here. And then when you find that sweet spot, you can start to track that leg a little bit farther down. Finding that sweet spot in the deer legs. Take a couple moments to really kind of set that up. If you're new to this pose or position, you might even need to kind of add in that lean back even here before we engage anything, or coming off towards the side is a way to make that a little bit more gentle. And so just playing around with trying to roll that top hip down. There might, like, I still have space. I still have some, not quite enough to tuck a block in under, or maybe a pillow, like I could do a small pillow, but just starting to activate into this top leg hip. Feeling that sits bone, so you have the sits bone trying to roll back and connect in. And then just like in our warrior two, where we have different lines happening through the leg, we're kind of doing the same thing here as we're rolling that sits bones back, and then we're going to start to activate into the front and the side of the leg, grabbing maybe onto the ankle, just because I like to think of that drawing the knee in, or the ankle in towards the sits bones. I'm not actually moving anything, but just like you would do in that standing quad stretch. So hip rolling back, hip flexor, and starting to press forward. And finding that sweet spot through the hip. Starting to get into it just a little bit. Excellent. If this is really easy for you, if you do have a decent amount of openness, what can I suggest for you? I just had something in mind and then I had lost it. I think the more upright you are, the more pull and challenge there might be. Although I am enjoying this. Leaning over, pressing the hip up. Got my hand on the hip just to help stabilize and keep pressing that hip forward. Maybe you're feeling this through the quad. Maybe that feels really good. Feel that little connection of the breath. Can take a nice inhale and draw the ears away from the shoulders. I feel like this would be one that we would hunch into quite naturally. Beautiful. Let's exhale. Start to release. Drawing that sits bone back down and in. Take a little moment, just simply hanging out here. Maybe you want to add a little twist. So noticing the direction that the soles of our feet are hanging out in. Take a moment, inhale, lengthen, and then exhale, start to twist the shoulders in the same direction that the heels are in. Nice little inhale, nice full exhale. Feeling that bit of pull. Beautiful. Can you imagine that softening? That bit of release. Beautiful. Oh, that was good. Found my little sweet spot. You notice my tension was slowly building up, so I thought I'd let it build up to its max and then I'd let it go. That was worth it. Beautiful. One more little breath in this twist. At the end of that exhale, nice and slowly, starting to release, coming out nice and safely. Just I like to do the little lean over, Bring that leg up. You can do the knee over knee, ankle over ankle, and then plant that foot in. Give it a nice big hug. Maybe you bring the leg up, give it a bit of a shake, and letting it feel good. Beautiful. So coming into that other twist, maybe you just bring that foot in and cross leg over ankle, or that bottom leg, and then you can extend it long and cross the leg over. However, whichever one you would prefer, it really doesn't matter. They're both still wonderful twists. It's actually still technically the same twist. One is just variation A, one is variation C. So, that's fun. Let's take that inhale, get nice and tall. Maybe start to draw that knee in towards the body. Maybe take a little moment and shift some of the extra around. Nice and strong. Drawing that leg in, just holding on with the opposite side. So you can reach that hand out and maybe bring it all the way around, planting it in nice and tall. Take that inhale, lift, exhale, twist a little deeper. So maybe you're just getting a nice twist here. Maybe you feel that through the leg. I'm just gonna bring a bend back to this knee, just because that's what I did on the other side. I just feel like I want that bit of balance. Yeah, a little more awareness through those sits bones. With my bottom leg bent, I can feel it a little bit more into the hip and the IT bend. Connecting in, not holding here for quite as long. Just getting some nice twist for the spine. Take that exhale and start to release. And come on back towards center. Extend both legs nice and long. Give them a little shake. Maybe take that little windshield wiper. Noticing just how you're feeling. Sitting up nice and tall. Having your band stick in. Let's bring the soles of the feet together. Let the knees start to fall open. So maybe your knees are up super high. Maybe you have a little bit more openness. You can play around with the distance of the feet between the sits bones and the body. If you're holding on at ankles, maybe at knees. There we go. Maybe you adjust through those sits bones. Take a nice inhale, breath, and lengthen. This is getting into those inner thighs. So maybe that's where you're feeling it. Got some nice external rotation at the hip. And if you want a little more, that's when you start to add that fold in. So lots of times when we're getting into twists, to deepen it, we add twists and folds to help elongate and strengthen some of those muscles. So take that inhale. Maybe do this with a nice flat back. Take that exhale. Start to add that fold forward. It's very natural just to cup the top of the toes here. And so holding on really wherever you want. Feel free to adjust and move. You can actively press the legs downwards if you want a little more in it, or you can just relax through the legs. Feeling that little bit of sensation. Keep pressing in. Nice inhale. Nice full exhale. You can even keep pressing the toes together. You could activate the legs as much as you would like here. Pressing the toes together, pressing the legs downwards, having the fold forward. So nice and active, or just nice and passive and relaxed. Maybe you're just hanging out here. Your choice. Beautiful. Nice inhale. Nice full exhale. Maybe on the end of that exhale, you nice and slowly start to come back up to seated. So we've done all of this little hip work and prep work. And so if you want to come to our peak pose of the class for doing so much through the external hips, I'm actually just going to straight up come into a standing position, just rolling on up, because our peak pose is the good old yogi squat. So I'm going to bring my feet just a touch wider than hip distance. That's where I know I like to hang out. with my squat, you can take a little moment, give the hips a little sway from side to side, just like you would do in that all fours position, just pressing the hip up, getting a little bit more into it. Sitting or standing nice and tall, lift through the heart, exhale, and start to bend the knees, sink the hips. I like to have my feet outwards ever so slightly. That makes it a little bit easier. And start to journey on down. Maybe your ankles lift up, maybe they stay down. I find that if you do this like little weird waddle thing and adjust the feet, you'll come into that position that the feet like to be in. And let's lengthen through the spine, so not hunching into the shoulders here. At some point you'll get into this position where it feels restful. The legs aren't as active. They're not working like crazy. If you come up a little bit, you're still almost using that chair pose muscles of the thighs and the legs, but if you can sink down a little more, this is a great one to have a stool handy for. If you need to take some of the weight out of this, a little stool or your block is a great option. We're working on the Achilles, the back line of the legs. We've got all of those muscles we were working on stretching through the hips activated. If you want a little more, you can bring those elbows to the inside of the legs and actively press, finding a little bit of openness, feels neutral or natural, and to bring the hands to that prayer position, but keep lengthening the head up, hanging out here. This is a great way to work on those forward folds. Might be intensive on the knees, on the hips, and that's where sitting on something will take a little bit of weight out of those joints and make it a little bit easier. And then if you are down and you find it very easy to have your ankles down or your heels down, the more you align your feet straighter in front of you, the more challenging this becomes. So you can see I almost have like ballerina feet. They're very much east and west. They are not north and south at all. And that's just where I'm at. So I've managed to work on my ankle mobility enough to be able to get my heels down pretty comfortably here, which I'm grateful for. But whenever I try to straighten through them, it doesn't work. So I guess I could try it. See, as soon as I start to align them, my heels pop up. I can try to press it down, but not quite. So that's that. So good. All right, to come out of this, I'm simply just gonna plant my hands down, drop my knees down, and then if you find yourself in that nice all fours position, you can take that nice little sway. Maybe you pattern the feet on the ground to help release. So good. Good job for attempting the yogi squat. I know that's really intensive on the hips. Let's spin around, find yourself in a nice reclined position. Still managed to teach an hour-long class, even though I said it'd be a short one. I just get going and I just love it. Add in a little more, think of this, think of that. So roll on back and down, roll those shoulders back and down. Bend the knees, plant the feet, press that low back in towards the mat. Take a quick low moment. Let's just hug the knees in towards the chest. Take that little rock from side to side. And this is also a great way to practice that yogi squat that's not load bearing. It's just drawing the knees up towards the shoulders or towards the underarms. Maybe even flex at the feet and then release. So just moving through that a little bit. Starts to kind of get in there, but at some point you need the body weight in to add that depth to it. Unfortunately, there's not tons of middle ground unless you have something to sit on. Or I guess you could do a wall sit, but no, that sounds like real work. All right, let's reach on through the knees for the feet. Drawing those feet up towards the ceiling, or you can hold on to the back of the knees. That's a great option too. Just taking a nice little happy baby. Maybe you're really aware of how that feels in the hips after all that hip work, and coming into a little freestyle portion of the class. So if there's another pose or movement, I feel like extending my legs long after that little yogi squat. So I'm going to find a little waterfall, going into the hamstrings a bit. But if you've got something else you want to do, you're welcome to play around. So good. You're going to reach for The big toes and extend. Oh, so nice. Take some time, maybe be creative, embracing that playfulness within you. Or if you're just ready for some more time in Shavasana, that's a great option too. If you don't want to be playful, if there's no other movement you need before settling into Shavasana, then by all means, Shavasana is there for you. I'd just like to offer, just in case there's something else you need, my X-ray vision doesn't work any day of the week, and especially through a camera lens. So, finding yourself in that final position, whatever that might look like. Maybe you take a nice good morning stretch before you settle in completely. Relaxing through the body, starting to find that softness, starting to find that openness. Maybe you roll those shoulders back and down. Maybe you accentuate that openness, tucking the hands behind the head, letting the elbows draw open. Whatever feels best for you. Let's connect in and take 3 big inhales and exhales together. The exhale can be audible. You can sigh it out. You can it out if that feels good. Nice little resonating in the heart center. So let's take that big breath in. Exhale, release. Nice inhale, big breath in. Exhale, let it go. One more big inhale breath. Getting nice and tall. Feel that breath filling every inch that it can. And exhale, let it out. Feel that softening. Maybe you maybe really draw it out nice and long. Take a little moment. Remember that intention you set at the beginning of class, just coming full circle. Perhaps you set an intention for the rest of your day. And then feel free to take all the time you need, just enjoying some stillness, some softness. Maybe even here you notice gravity pulling gently on the hip flexors, starting to get into that apple roll up. Just say goodbye. Take your time in your reclined position. I thank you so much for joining me this morning for a little yoga. I hope you're able to make it tonight for our yoga party, 7 p.m. Mountain Time. On Zoom, there is an event on my Real Person Yoga page for that, so those are where the details are. But this is it for now. Thank you so much. Have a beautiful rest of your day filled with moments of joy, and I pray that you are always blessed. Namaste.